services. Okay, easy integration. நம்ம fan போடுங்கம்மா. Easy integration. So web services, Hibernate, RMI, all those stuffs you can integrate into a single unit. Like as I told you, you can have all those things can in independent items, and you are going to combine in a single place is what Spring Framework is providing you. And no reinvention. Make existing solutions easier to use. That's it. Very simple. Okay, and the last point, as I told you, no dependency. Code doesn't need aware of Spring Framework. Whatever you already develop, you can convert into Spring Framework because the code doesn't have any dependency on Spring. Only the assembly procedure is going to be there. Okay. In Spring Framework, the very first interview question is going to be, what do you mean by IOC or dependency injection? IOC is a container. In JSP servlet and all, you might heard about in the recording, like what do you mean by container and all. Like that, in Spring Framework, there is a container called inversion of control. And that IOC is built on a kind of design pattern called dependency injection. What do you mean by dependency injection? The name itself telling. You can have a look at the bottom image. Dependency injection is expanded into setter injection, constructor injection. Are you getting the point what they are trying to tell? Where we have seen setter and constructor before? Anyone? Where you will create setter methods and constructor? In our bean class, right? We used to have bean class for all the stuff. So your bean class is going to have getter and setter methods and also constructor, right? So that is what dependency injection means. Constructor means what? Let's say if Nikhil is having a class with a constructor, I'm also having a different class with a different topic. Okay, two ways. Nikhil can use my thing. Like either he can extend my stuff and he can play with it, or else when creating an object, I can create an object for Nikhil's class. When creating an object, I can pass my logic into his constructor. He can take a copy of my logic and he can use it. That's what dependency injection. What is your dependent? What do you want? Take it directly. You don't need to create a logic from your end. It is already available. Take it directly. How you are going to take it? Either using a setter method or using a constructor overloading, which we have already seen it. But in Spring Framework, why they are mentioning it specifically means here your bean class plays a very, very, very important role. Everything is going to be beans in Spring Framework. Okay. We simply seen how to create beans like having a getter and setter and constructor in your core Java stuff. But when you are getting into Hibernate, that is a mandatory item which we have seen already. Whatever the tables you are having, you should definitely have a bean class for the corresponding tables for the corresponding fields. And the next step of Spring Framework, it is 100% mandatory that you will be playing with beans. Okay, so remember this point to talk over the interview. What do you mean by inversion of control? It's a container built on the top of dependency injection design pattern. And what do you mean by dependency injection? So it can be achieved through setter or constructor injection, which is nothing but a bean. Okay. And have a look in the rectangular box. So there is a class customer. Of course, every project need a logging system, right? All the products should have a logging system. What time you are logging, what operations you are doing with respect to time and date details and everything is very important. But you are developing a code for your project. You no need to specifically develop the logging system code because it's already available. So you can reuse it. You can reuse the logger system. So pass it. You can have a look here. Inside a customer, they're creating a variable public logger log. So that logger is a outside class member. So you are passing that log to the customer constructor, and this dot log equals object means that's it. You are taking a copy of the outside class for your own class. Okay. So Based on the dependency, you can inject the stuff. That is what dependencies are injected. And yeah, dependencies are injected and not created. It is highlighted there. It's very simple to reuse it. How you are going to reuse whatever is already available. That is what we are playing with Spring Framework. Little bit detailed explanation about IOC container. You can take a screenshot of these slides and all if you really want to talk about the interview. Yes, definitely. They will be asking. It's a kind of important question. IOC and dependency injection with respect to Spring Framework. What IOC container will do. Okay, I'm having a bean class, and what is the next step? I'm going to have a bean class. I'm going to have a XML file. I'm going to have a test class. So where you are going to assemble, what is the procedure, what is the flow. So that's what IOC container is responsible. It is responsible to instantiate the bean, configure the product, and assemble the objects. That's it. So gets information from the XML file and works accordingly. As I told you, XML is the manual here. Main tasks performed by IOC are again the first point only mentioned in the third point. Instantiate the application class, configure the object, assemble the dependencies between the object. And also, there are two types of IOC containers. One is bean factory and another one is application context. So, definitely an interview question. What is the difference between bean factory and application context? You can have a look. Which one is best to use is application context only than bean factory. And why? What is the reason? That's what explained at the below point. Take a screenshot of this slide. Okay. This is your project setup, a core setup. Whatever you want to do, that's fine, but you should have this setup first. You're going to play with JDBC, you're going to play with JSP server. That is a secondary point. If you want to play with JDBC, first do this setup. On the top of this, you need to implement all your JDBC or MVC, whatever it is. So Pojo classes, Spring container, and application class. Here, the Pojo classes is going to be your bean class. Spring container is going to be your XML file, and application is going to be your final testing class or application class. Okay. Beans. As I told you, Spring bean is everything about in Spring. Any normal Java Pojo class can be a Spring Bean, which is your bean. Your normal simple bean class can be a Spring Bean. If it's configured to be initialized via container, what they are telling, again read the point. Any normal Java class can be a Spring Bean if it is configured to be initialized via container. Container means what here? XML. If you mentioned in the XML that it needs to be initialized, means that is going to act as a bean. Okay. And scopes. What do you mean by scopes? Anyone? Generally, do you heard or you know about scope of variables? Anyone? Can you tell me? Anyone? Scope of variables. Niti, Nikhil,
Public,
Dharnesh.
private, protected.
That is access specifier, right? We can't agree that statement completely. Scope of variables means without using public private keyword also you can create, but where and all you will be creating variable generally. Anyone?
Inside the main method.
Inside, okay, you can call it as method. No need to mention main method. Any method, right? Inside a method. Okay, then inside a class. Even at the top level class also you can create. Inside a loop, for loop, for int I, you are creating a variable. For loop, whatever variable creating, it is not inside a method. Of course, inside a method you will be having a loop, but even that variable is inside a loop only, not in the method level also. So for int I, that I belongs to for loop, not your wherever the for loop is sitting in the method, not belongs to that method also. So it is like a variable belongs to a loop, variable belongs to a method, variable belongs to your class. So Variable belongs to your loop, of course, only the scope is inside the loop only. Inside the for loop only, you can use I. Outside the for loop, you cannot use the I. If you're creating a variable inside a method, you can use inside only that method only. Even if you're having a loop inside the loop, you can use the method variable. Try to try to virtualize yourself and let me know if you're not getting the point. And class level variable outside of the method. So of course, it is going to be global variable. Maybe it is a public. By default also, it is a default variable. If you're creating a variable as a top level of class, you can access the variable inside a method. You can access the same class variable inside a loop also. That is called scope of variables, guys. Very basic question, but if you are getting a chance to answer in the interview, don't miss it. That's it. Okay. Like that, in Spring, the bean also having so many scopes. So 5 scopes: singleton, prototype, request session, and global session. Singleton is a default one. By default, it will be singleton. You don't need to manually mention it. Okay. So of course, what do you mean by singleton? We already completed in the design patterns, I guess, if you remember. Right? Singleton, restricting creating more than one object for any class. If you are trying to create more than one variable, it will be giving you the copy of the primary variable. Right? So the same thing, only one instance of the bean will be created for each container. This is the default scope of Spring Beans. Prototype, every time a new instance will be created. And rest of the 3 items is a kind of different scenario. Request is, of course, you've heard about it. Request and session and all HTTP related stuffs, right? Request and HTTP related stuffs, right? Global session. This is used to create global session beans for portlet applications. Remember that point. That is what you need to use in the interview. We will be using global session bean scope for portlet applications like emails or whether a ready-made feature, right? A feature which easily can add to your project. Okay. And also this is extendable and we can create our own scopes too. Our own scopes too means based on scenario, if you want to provide some access to some limit, that is going to be your own scope. Okay. So very important interview things, all the things with respect to Spring. What do you mean by IOC? What do you mean by dependency injection? Scope of beans? What is the flow? Yeah, flow is the correct word. What is the flow of Spring? So instantiate whatever you have seen in the previous slide, right? Instantiate. What else? Combine. 1 minute. This is the one. Configure. Instantiate the application class, configure the object, assemble the dependencies. All these are very important interview steps. Okay. So how you are going to configure your bean? You are talking, as I told you, how you are going to assemble it. I'm having a product. I'm having a 10 items. How you are going to assemble it? So in the way how you are going to assemble your bean is either annotation based or XML based, of course. That is what we can do. If an application is dependent on XML oriented stuffs, it will be providing you a couple of ways to configure. Either you can configure in an XML or you can configure using annotation. So by annotation, what are the annotations you can use mentioned here? Service or component or scope annotation. XML based, that is what we will be playing more here. In XML, we will be configuring all the stuff. And Java based, what do you mean by Java based and annotation based? Annotation based is the top level stuff where directly you will be giving to the bean. Java based configuration is your coding level stuff. Configuration components can be in components can means you are having a package. From outside of the package you are trying to access some class or methods, but it is not visible or somewhere a restriction is there, means you need to provide the component scan annotation for that particular class, which means it will be scanning whatever you are searching, whatever you are trying to reach. It will scan where it is and it will take without errors. So all these types of configuration you can achieve with Spring Bean configuration. Clear? And finally, the modules or packages, whatever is comfortable you can tell. The jar files I have provided, right? So it will be having so many jar files to support the Spring. As I told you, you can play with any advanced stuff like Hibernate or MVZ or JDBZ, whatever it is. But the core is very important. First, you need to set the core. Let's say core is a stage. You need to build the stage first. On the top of the stage, what you are going to do? Are you going to give a speech? Are you going to do a dramatic performance? Are you going to sing a song or dance? All those things are above modules you are seeing. But to perform all those steps, what you need is you need to stand on the stage. You need to build the stage first. That is your core, right? And this is jar dependent. So whenever you're creating a project, first you need to load the Spring core jars. Some 4 or 5 set of jars you need to load it first. After that, you need to see what are the additional jars you need. Okay, so in Spring interview, with respect to technical project related stuff, they may ask what all are the modules or what all are the packages or bundles you have worked in Spring. They may ask. You should able to tell I have worked on Spring MVC, AOP, Spring AutoWire, JDBC, Hibernate, all the stuffs you can tell. And from here onwards, you'll be seeing or hearing the word DAO. Did anyone worked on that already? Do you know what is the abbreviation of that? DAO? Anyone? DAO. What do you mean by DAO? Anyone? Nikhil, I hope you created the projects for Spring, right?
No.
Have you used?
No.
No? Okay. DAO, Data Access Object.
Okay.
Yeah, Niti, you worked on? So we will be
Just know the
playing with.
abbreviation of it.
Yeah, okay. We'll be playing with the service class, DAO class, and all. It's very simple. Don't feel complicated. Right now, you are directly talking to your bean class. Right? You are creating a bean class. For example, take your Hibernate or JDBC. You are having a bean class. You are directly talking to the bean. Going forward, all the advanced stuff, they will not directly talk to your bean class. For your bean class, they will create couple of classes to provide a service. Let us say bean class is your kitchen. We directly entered into a kitchen. Whatever stuff you want, you are taking. But going forward, in between the kitchen and you, there will be a supplier. Okay. So whatever you want, you need to get it from that supplier. So that supplier is going to be your service class or DAO class. In service class, we will be creating interface methods. In DAO class, data access object, you will be writing the logic for all the overriding methods, whatever you created in service class. So let's see that and all going forward. Okay. This is an example. First example, what we are going to see today. How you can create a project. A normal core Java project. Okay. Pojo class is your bean class. Container is your spring.xml. Have a look on the spring.xml. I am just recreating all the property, whatever you are having in your bean class. More or less very similar to your Hibernate mapping.xml. Right? Nikhil, do you remember? This is what we have done in mapping.xml. Same thing. Whatever you are having the items in your bean class, you need to list. As I in the previous definitions, that's what we read, right? When you are creating a scope, when you are initiating a bean means if you are mentioning that in your container. So this is spring.xml is your container. If you are mentioning your bean class here, then a bean scope is created. It is going to instantiate the process. But still, my bean.java is the same bean class whatever you created in olden days. No difference, no changes, no complications in that. That is what we are doing. You are retaking everything. What you are not at all recreating much here. You are doing an assembly. That's it. Okay. On the left hand side, black color box. That is a jar files you need for to set up the stage, beginning stage. AOP, bean score, context, and expression. All the 5 jars you need to build a core stuff. Apart from this, if you are playing with JDBC, load Spring JDBC. If you are playing in Hibernate, load Spring Hibernate. Like that, you need to load the jobs. And under Spring, we will be seeing so many modules. What do you mean by Spring AOP? We will be seeing, and how you can do a setup with a Spring plus Hibernate plus MySQL. We are seeing one sample. What do you mean by Spring auto-wired? We are going to see. And finally, your JSP servlet Spring MVC also will be seeing annotations. So what are these are the annotations you are going to use in your class to achieve everything. Okay. JSP. So after that, we will get into Spring Boot. So any questions? This one, all these things I will explain when we are doing a sample for each and everything. Okay. Right now, if you have any questions, please let me know. Clear? Okay. So anyone can share your screen. I'll be back in 3 minutes.
As you might be aware, Pandas is one of the very popular libraries for data wrangling or data manipulation. And data manipulation or data preparation itself becomes a very important block in your data science projects workflow. So one of the often asked question is what's the actual limitation? Basically, how much data we can process in pandas? What's the limitation beyond which we need to go for some kind of parallel processing or big data solutions? Well, it really depends on what's the configuration of your system. If you're working in a laptop, a decent laptop or a server, it really depends on how much memory it can actually hold. Typically, what we say is pandas can be safely used without any performance issues from 1 to 5 GB data. You can have millions of records with let's say 20, 30 fields within this range. And pandas is the most extensive library with the most extensive functionalities and modules. So within this limit, pandas is the best. If we are working with the structured data or panel data, which is the name actually came from pandas, is a panel data. Pandas is the best solution. If it goes beyond 5 and let's say up to 30 GB or even
Yeah, who wants to share? Anyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Close everything. Did you extracted the Spring jar files, Nikhil?
No, not the Spring jar files.
Yeah, do that.
With this one, right? 5.0 jar.
First, go to your downloads. Go to your downloads.
Yeah, this is it's all here. So.
Okay, you are sharing only Eclipse, I guess. We are not able to see.
Okay. Sorry, just a second. So there are two Spring 5.0.0 and Spring Hype 4.
Yeah, go to 5.0.0.
Okay.
Can you share the whole stuff so that I can guide you what you need to select? Stop sharing and select screen. Expand Spring 5.0.
This is one, right?
Okay, go back. Yeah, go back to your Eclipse. Okay, create a new project. Project name can be Spring Core Java project. Spring Core. Okay, finish. Finish. Okay, click yes. Minimize the Hibernate, de-expand Hibernate. Okay, expand Spring Core. Okay, now right click, properties build path, add external jars. Build path, Java build path, third. Add external jars. Okay, go to that Spring 5.0. Go to download. It is right. Yeah. Okay, here it is. Okay, expand it. What you need to select first? No, not all, not all. Whatever we need, that only we need to select. I think the second one, org.apache, that is a logging level jar file, which is mandatory. Second one from the top, okay. Org.apache. Yeah. Okay, that one. And then under Spring, you can press a control button and you can select all these steps.
Under Spring.
Spring, you need to under Spring Core, Spring Core Beans, Spring Core, Spring Beans at the top, Spring Beans, and also context aspects expression. Above bean you are having aspects, after bean you are having context, and check for expression, Spring expression. Scroll down. Yes, good. Now click open. Apply and close. Okay, now create a package. Come.plus and create a bean class. Bean class name can be anything like my bean or something. So under my bean class, you can have some private string name, private int value 1, value 2.
What is the field?
Private int value 1, comma value 2, and also private string name. Private string name. Create getter and setter methods. Okay, and I want you to create two more methods. One method to display name and one method to add val1 and val2. So public void display name. public void display name. Inside that method, you can sys out name is plus name. Sys out name is plus name. Okay. You can have a addition method. Public void addition sys out yeah, sys out result is val1 comma val1 plus val2. Can have a parenthesis also. Result is plus open and close parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, you can give val1 plus val2. Yeah, outside the double quotes, outside the double quotes, put a plus and put open and close parenthesis. Yeah, inside that, you can put val1 plus val2. What we are going to do, it's a simple core Java. Whatever the name and value you are passing, it will get the value, it will get the name, and when you are calling these two methods, it will give you the result. How you will send the value? So far, in the console means you'll be using a scanner. If via a main method means you'll be passing via command prompt if you're not using any IDE. But I'm not a Java guy. I don't know even how to modify the code or predefine or using the console. Okay. So what I'm going to do? Of course, if it is a Spring project, you need to provide the XML file. The XML is a kind of English language which is common to all. And I'm going to pass the values. Even though you are giving your .class or .java files in a jar format, along with the jar, yeah, I know, I don't know how to open jar file or how to edit class and all, but still, along with the jar, your XML file is going to sitting near. You'll be providing your XML separate only. Your jar file will not load your XML file. So I can open that XML in a notepad or any editor and I can update the value and I can run it. So that's the assembly we are trying to see here. Okay, now let us create the container. So of course, where we should create the XML file is right click on SRC. Right click on SRC. Create a file. Yeah, of course, create a file. File name can be spring.xml. Any name you can give. Container.xml, application container.xml, or spring container. Let's keep it a spring.xml. Yeah, finish. Okay, now I'll give you the code. XML code. No one in the interview, they are going to ask you to write or ask any questions related to the XML coding and all. Remember that. What knowledge you should have is, if I'm asking you to create this scenario, means you should know what all are the files you need to have, where and all you need to create. That's it. Because they are not going to block your Google access or internet access in the office also. They are not going to ask you should by heart and write all the XML codings. No, it's open source, right? Only thing, everything is available. What they will expect from you is you should have a knowledge on where and how to take and use it. That's it. Now, line number 9 to 14 is the important stuff. How many bean files, bean class you are having, you should repeat this. Right now you are having one, same of your Hibernate, right? So bean ID. ID is a kind of name you are giving for this bean. Any name, any ID you can give. So let's give us B, and class, the complete package name, and property name should be same of your bean class, which we already discussed in Hibernate also. So I think you gave val1, val2, right? And again, you need to change that name. Yeah, and any data you can pass, like name, value, Karthik, value 512, anything you can pass. Okay, Now create a 1 minute. Sorry, I got some cold. Okay, now create a test class. Right click on com.intuos. Right click on com.intuos and create a class. Maybe application test. Have a main method also. Okay. Here you need to write couple of lines of code which you need to remember forever when you are playing with the Spring. Okay. What is the class name to load the file is as path XML application context. Big name only. Just type class path and put control space bar. Class path control space bar. Class path. Yeah, we're getting class path XML application context. Okay, and object name can be context equals complete the object creation. New space control space bar. And here inside the parenthesis you need to give the complete file name. So double quotes spring.xml. Spring.xml. And next line, create a reference variable for your bean class, not an object reference variable. So my bean mb equals typecast my bean. Typecast means again open and close parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, give class name as my bean. Yeah. Create open and close. Yeah. Inside the parenthesis, type my bean class name. It means typecasting the rest of the stuff. Outside, you are using the context object. Context dot, you will be getting get bean method. Put a dot, get bean method will be there. Here in double quotes, you need to give the same name what you gave as a ID for your bean in your spring.xml. So we gave us B, right? Bean ID equals B. So you should give B here. At line number 9, you can see. Yeah, B. That's it. These two lines only we will be repeating all the time. Remember this and also remember the class name also as for the XML application context and all. Okay. You should not struggle to do these two lines going forward. That's it. You can play with it using your MB object. MB dot call your methods. MB dot display name, MB dot addition, and finally close the context. Go to the next line. MB dot MB bean object. MB dot display name and MB dot what is the other method? Addition, right? MB dot addition. Okay, and finally close your context object. Context dot close. That's it. Run and check now. Okay. So you can simply change the data in spring.xml. Whatever the name and value you are passing here, it will give you the output. So it is easy to update the values for even a non-Java users also. Okay, so this is a very basic setup. Just we are learning how you can build the stage. Just to build the stage. On the top of it, what and all we are going to do in the upcoming samples. Any questions here so far? Have a look on all the three classes, everyone. Niti, Ananta, Dharnesh, any question? Okay. If no questions quickly, we can see one more example. What do you mean by spring auto wired? Auto wired. Remember this word all the time. Auto wired means you are having a bin class with properties. Let us say these three items: name, value one, value two. Now I need a scenario. I'm having a scenario. I need a same set of beans for some process or some logic. I need a kind of name, value, and value too. I'm not going to recreate or again, I'm not going to code to create new beans. I already know Nikhil is having it. So what I can do, I can get help from Nikhil. How he can help me? He can transit his properties to me. He can provide approval, right? Or he can provide authority to use his beans for my operations. That's it. I don't want to create all the properties. Just if Nikhil is provided the approval, I can use his beans. That's it. That is what auto wired. Auto wired is an annotation which is used to transform one bean properties to another bean if it is set as true. True means approved. Okay, fine. Now close all the stuff, create a new project. Project name can be Spring Auto Wire. And as usual, the first step, load the jar files.
Java project, right?
Yes, Java project only. Auto Wire, finish, expand, right click, build a path. You are already having a direct option also, build a path. Yeah. Okay, add external jars. So choose the stage first. The second one, Apache common login, right? And then as usual, AOP context code expression.
I
AOP,
can't. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, AOP aspects, beans, beans, context, core, expression. Along with this, hold on, yeah, core and expression. Along with this, for doing this stuff, auto wire, you need to select the very first jar file also, AOP, appliance, very first jar file. Guys, you can download the Spring jar files in the net. You won't get all these things together. You will get only Spring name related jars only. Whatever I gave you is the bundle. I reduced your manual work. Okay. If you are putting only Spring jar files, you will be getting error for Apache common logging is missing or something. Then you need to download that particular jar. So I have reduced your work. Directly I am providing you all the needed supporting jars. Okay. Click open. Finish. Apply and close. Okay, now get a package com.npus. Create two classes, bean1.java, bean2.java.
What is the name?
Bean1, bean1, and one more class. Finish it, create one more class, bean2. Finish. Okay, in bean1, create a properties, private string name, private int age. Okay, create getter and setters. Okay, that's it. Now save it, save and go to bean2. So here what I'm going to do, I need name and age also, but I'm not going to create those things. So what I need to play with bean1 variable here directly. Using bean1 variable, I can access all the stuffs, right? So here your bean is going to be private bean1 class name. Private bean1 object name can be b1. Private bean1 b1. Create getter and setters for this. and getter and setters, also constructor. Constructor also. Okay, delete the super keyword. And you can override string method also, next line, so that when you're printing the object, it will give you the name and age. Source override string method, just b1 is enough. Yeah, okay. But we need to change that. Click OK. And in return, it should print. Okay, just after return, delete everything, including the double quotes. Put open and close parenthesis. Open and close parenthesis. Inside that, this dot b1 dot get name. This dot b1 dot get name. This use this keyword also. This dot b1 dot get name. Name. Okay, plus double quote space. Do the same thing for age. This dot b1 dot get age. Okay, now we need to play with the permission. What you need to do, you need to play with the annotation. For your variable and constructor, you can have the auto wired annotation. After line number 3, for the private b1, you can have @auto wired. Put control space bar. Yeah. And also for the constructor, after line number 17. You can give for setter method also, getter method also, constructor also, for whatever you want, you can provide this auto wired. Yeah. Okay, save it. Now create your container. So right click on src, spring.xml. New file, yeah, spring.xml. We'll give you the code here. Yeah. Okay, copy paste. Okay. So have a look. Line number 12. What is that line is doing? Context annotation config. That is a switch. If you are using annotations for auto wire, you need to have that line number 12. Otherwise, it will throw error. And where that annotation is getting support means you are getting the appliance annotation appliance jar is there, right? From there, you will be getting the support for line number 12. That is mandatory. And of course, even from the previous project and here also you are seeing, what do you mean by line number 2 to 10? It is a kind of import statements in Java. What and all you need to, you are creating a bean, you need support online, right? Support from the Spring framework. So that importing statements only line number 2 to 10. Okay, now have a look. In the previous example, you are having a mybean class. For that mybean only, you are creating all the properties. Here also, at line number 16 to 22, B1 is having only properties. So for that class only we are creating this. For B2, we are not having any specific properties. You are having only B1 variable only. We no need to display list here. Just to create a ID, that's it. Because in the front end class, we are not going to play with B1 ID here. You are going to play with B2 only. You can see B2 here doesn't have any properties, but still your B2 can able to access name and age from B1. How? Because you are using auto wired annotation. Okay, go and create a test class under com.net.
AW.
Sorry?
This
Yeah, you
AW.
remove it. Yeah, remove it. Correct. Create a test class and complete those two lines correctly, you need to create the reference variable for bean2 only, not b1. Remember that. Please, no. First, what you need to do, as path
Right.
XML application context. Load your spring.xml. Okay, context equals, yeah. Okay. Okay. Next line. Bean2 equals do typecast for bean2, open and close parenthesis, yeah, bean2, and outside same thing, context dot bean of, you should give bean2 id only. I think it is b2. So context dot get bean of, and double quotes b2. Okay, semicolon. That's it. Now you can just simply do sysout b2 dot string of. To string of, yeah.
Or just B2.
Just to string b2 dot call your to string method. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, if you just do B2, it'll call toString automatically. You don't
No,
have to specify.
is it? I don't think so. Okay, let's see. After that, close the context. Context dot close. Okay, run and check. I believe it will print the object details only. Oh, that's great. It's automatically printing. Fine. Okay, yeah, I got it. Yeah, means if we are not overriding toString, then we need to do here b2 dot toString of. Am I correct?
Yes.
Since we are already overriding it, it's not required. Correct. Okay, now this is how the auto wired used to work, and there is one important feature is also there. Go to your spring.xml, comment line number 20, comment it. No, not like that. Less than exclamation mark hyphen. Yeah, now cut the end stuff and put it in. Okay, save it, go back to test.java and run it. See here. This is kind of optional. It is now working like a kind of optional for integer value. If you are not passing any value, it is taking the default integer value of 0, right? This you can play with it. Means you can set either, it can be option. You are going to use my bean, I agree. I'm having 3 parameters. What is the rule here? Out of 3, you can pass in provide the rule like you should pass all the values, all the parameter values. How you can do that? Go to bean1.java. Go to bean1.java and for your set age method, bean1. So right now set age only you are doing, right? You are not passing anything, so it is setting the data as 0. So after line number 15, have an auto wired annotation. Iterate auto wire. Open and close parenthesis. There is an attribute called required. Required equals true. Type it. Required equals true. Remember, by default it is false only. That is why it is allowing 0. Okay, but if you are restricting to enter that mandatory, then you should give required equal true. Okay, save it. Now go to test and run. You should get an error in the console. So in the interview, they may ask, what is the user need of required attribute under AutoWire? Okay. So now go ahead and uncomment line number in spring.xml. Now it should work. So with respect to AutoWire, what are the chances of question means? What do you mean by AutoWire? You should be able to tell transforming one bean information to another bean either by either at the next step whatever I am telling, maybe a second question like how you can achieve it means you can use it like either by name or ID or name and ID means ID is going to be a constructor, name is going to be a variable. So either a setter method or a constructor, you can achieve this AutoWire, and required attribute is to make by default it is false. If you want to make sure that all the values should enter for all parameters, then required should be set as true. Okay, that's it for today. Have a look on all the steps. Let me know if you're having any questions. Niti, Dharnesh, Ananta.
I'll check somewhat. I just got confused, but I'll check.
Confused on what?
No, this entire spring thing.
Okay,
No,
as
I can
I
understand.
said,
No, I can
okay,
understand, but just wanted to know, like,
yeah.
if I
As
practice,
I
then
said,
it'll get it.
it is about setting up things. Okay,
Correct.
definitely we need to learn the setting steps. That is mandatory. But whatever you are playing, 90% is old items only, right? You are creating the same bean thing, same class loading and everything, right?
Correct.
Uh, is it possible for you to repeat auto-word equals true? Or what?
See, when initially he didn't give any stuff, auto wired and required true, nothing he gave. By default, the required attribute is false only if you are not giving anything. Okay. So required equal to false means what? It is not. It means it is not mandatory. Not mandatory means either you can send the value or you don't need to send the value for that particular variable, right? If you don't have required equals true in the XML, you are passing values for name and age, right? You don't need to pass that variable also. It will not give any error. For name, it will access null. For age, it will access by default value of integer 0. Does it make sense, Ananta? So there is an option. If you are making the setup required equals true means then you are telling that you cannot leave this empty when you are passing the data. You should pass a value for this. Clear?
Okay.
Ananta? Yeah.
Yes.
Anything else, anyone? Okay. Yeah, please do more practices. Then only you can speak a lot. This whatever I am sharing in a session will not at all helpful for you. You need to do more practice. Then only you can speak on your own, and also you will get more questions on whatever I'm explaining. Okay. Okay. Then, if no questions, we can end. Happy weekend. Let's meet on Monday. Bye, guys.
Thank you,
Thank
Vijay.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.